Hi everyone, it's Connor again. So this is technically the third video of this series. In the previous video we talked about our musical world and how certain things come into existence, and most importantly we talked about how a dominant seventh chord is created. Before you go any further, if you have not watched that video, please pause this video right now and go back and watch that, because you'll be really confused if you haven't watched the video before this one. So, in the previous video, like I said, we talked about how a dominant seventh chord comes into existence, right? If we start with a fully diminished seventh chord, and we lower one note a half step, so like if I lowered this C natural down to a B natural, I get a B dominant seventh chord. So this video is going to deal with what does that mean specifically for players of harmonic instruments like a piano or a guitar or a vibraphone or something like that, from a chording or comping perspective, but also from if we talk about it a little more, you'll begin to understand why other things start to come into existence. So you could say this is kind of like the real world application video of the information we talked about in the previous video. So one thing to notice that I didn't mention directly in the previous video is that the tonics, or in other words, scale degree 1 of each of the dominants that are formed when we lower one note at a time from a diminished seventh chord. Check this out, it's pretty interesting. If I lower that note, I get a B natural. I'll just play that down in my left hand for now. If we lower the E flat to a D natural, we get D7. Okay, I'll play that in my left hand. If we lower the F sharp down to an F natural, we get F7. And if we lower the A down to an A flat, then we get A flat 7, right? Now look at my left hand. Look at what the tonics of those four dominants form. It's another diminished chord. It's kind of freaky, right? It gets even freakier. Check this out. If we combine that diminished, which consists of the roots of the four dominants that came from this diminished, and if we combine those two diminished chords together, the C diminished with the B diminished, that's a diminished scale. And that's what a diminished scale really is. You know, when people say, oh, a diminished scale is just half step, whole step, that is correct, but really the construction of a diminished scale is what I just told you. It's a fully diminished seventh chord, and you drop one note at a time. To get another diminished, and you combine the two together. And that's really what a diminished scale is, okay? So that's where a diminished scale comes from. Now, going back to how can we apply our knowledge that four dominants, a family of four dominants, come from the same fully diminished seventh chord? How can we apply that? In terms of chord voicings, if you're playing in a big band or in a combo and you want voicings that sound more interesting, or some people would describe this as wanting crunchier voicings or something along those lines, I don't know. But if you want more interesting sounding voicings, you can directly take this knowledge of four dominants coming from the same diminished into play. So here's what happens, check it out. Let's say I'm trying to play over an F7 chord. F's dominant 7, so a major triad with that flat 7, right? Just F7. If I just play it like that, it's, you know, okay, great, not too interesting, right? But the beauty of knowing that four dominants come from the same fully diminished seventh chord is that those four dominants are completely interchangeable. In other words, you can combine any two dominants together to get a different type of sound. So let me show you what I mean. if I'm trying to play F7, and I know that F7 comes from C fully diminished, because I lower that F sharp down a half step to F, and there's my F7, right? I can just play an F7 chord, but because I know that three other dominants come from this fully diminished 7th chord, I can combine those with F7. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to play in my left hand just a simple, what we call bud pal voicing, or some people call this shell voicings, where I'm just playing the root of a chord in the 7. So for F7, I'm just playing F, which is the root, and E flat, which is the flat 7. And I'm going to combine it with another dominant 7th chord that I know comes from the same fully diminished 7th chord as F7 does. So, I know that I get F7 from C fully diminished 7, but what if I combine it with a B7? Because if I combine, if I take C diminished and I lower a half step and I get B7, what if I combine that with F7? Here's the sound. There you go, it's something different. Now most people would say, well, it's obvious that works. It's because B7 is a tritone, or 6 half steps away from F. Yeah, that's one way of explaining it, but a more in-depth way to explain it is because B7 comes from C fully diminished 7, and F7 comes from that same fully diminished 7th chord, C fully diminished 7. So that's why you can combine them. They're completely interchangeable. Okay, so what if I combine F7 with D7? Why can I combine it with D7? It's because here's my diminished. I lower one note a half step, and there's D7. So here's a D dominant 7th chord with F7 outlined with my left hand. Here I go. There you go, it's a different type of sound. What if I combine F7 with A flat 7? Because here's my fully diminished 7th chord. I lower one note a half step. There's A flat 7. And in my left hand for this one, because A flat 7 doesn't have the major 3 of F7 that helps define the chord quality and the sound, I'm going to play that shell voicing in my left hand plus the major 3rd there. So here's A flat 7 combined with F7. And I'll play it down here. It's completely valid, and you don't even have to think about particular alterations like sharp 9, flat 13, any of that stuff. All you can do is just use your knowledge of 4 dominants coming from the same fully diminished 7th chord, and when you see chords in your music, and whatever music you're playing, you can combine those dominants and you get that crunchy, altered-ish sound, right? So you can even play different inversions of them. Like if I combine F7 and A flat 7 again, there's a different inversion. There's a different one. I can play it. You know, there's so many different things you can do, but the fundamental bit of knowledge that we're operating on is, again, 4 dominants come from the same fully diminished 7th chord. So that's just a little bit of how you can incorporate that bit of knowledge into your comping when you're playing in a big band or a combo. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll keep going with all this harmony and theory and movement stuff. See you next time.